The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
With so many people living longer, the fear of outliving your money becomes a reality for many of us. Will I be a financial burden? Will I outlive my money? How will I be remembered? My name is Neil Himmelstein, president of Main Street Planning Group. Please contact me by visiting mainstreetplanninggroup.com. That's mainstreetplanninggroup.com, or call 631-647-4694. I will introduce you to strategies that will guarantee you will not outlive your money, that can guarantee you will not be a burden on your loved ones. Through a collaborative approach, we will uncover solutions that offer tax-efficient strategies, lifetime income, and legacy planning, choice, organization, direction, and education. That is the code we stand behind. Contact mainstreetplanninggroup.com, that's mainstreetplanninggroup.com, or call 631-647-4694. And listen to me every Friday at 3 p.m. as I host the Main Street Code for Financial Success, right here on 103.9 LI News Radio. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein. I'm here every Friday at 3. And if you miss an episode, you can always catch me on Spotify or Apple, or visit me at themainstreetcode.com, where I have a YouTube channel. Or you can go on YouTube and find me, or 103.9 live streaming, and I think there's some past episodes there right on the website. And today, what a day it is. It's a beautiful day. Hey, one of the good things about today is the Yankees won last night. So we have a positive thing to think about in sports. And the Knicks played their first preseason game. For anybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Knicks fan. So I'm excited about the Knicks. I'm excited about sports. What I'm not excited about, unfortunately, oh, by the way, our code means choice, organization, direction, and education. We help thousands of people across the United States, hundreds and thousands over our lifetime. Not only clients, but agents, attorneys. We're an independent insurance agency specializing in life insurance, annuities, disability, and long-term care, as well as life settlements if you need to sell your policy because you've outlived it and where it's getting way too expensive, and we're finding a lot of activity in that market today. Your life insurance policy, especially if you have a permanent one, does have a real value to it, not just if you pass away, but if you're living. And I think you need to understand that and know that. Anyhow, the hot topic today is really the federal job cuts and the economy. The economy is always hot on everybody's mind, and the market is booming, everybody. Isn't that great news? But for our personal economy, that's good for many or few people that are heavily invested in the market. They're all smiling. For those who are losing a job or being furloughed or whatever, the federal government, I really feel for you. That's a big concern, not just to you, but to everybody, but particularly if you don't know if you're going to be employed tomorrow. It's quite a scary thing. And my hat's out to you and my heart's out to you. And if I could help in any way, please give me a call. What I do want to talk about is if you are a federal employee, you have a big benefit package as part of you working there. And, you know, it's very difficult to live in fear of losing your job or not being paid. I get it. Listen, I got to feed my family. And all of a sudden the checks aren't coming in, and you end up going through your savings, or if you don't have savings, you're really in bad shape. And it's what a terrible thing not to know from one day to the next, including some of the tariffs that have hit and affected the farms and everything else, where your business structure may have changed dramatically, whether you're importing stuff or exporting things that other countries aren't taking anymore. So, you know, although the stock market is booming, that doesn't mean the economy is great for you. And that's important. Anyhow, if you work for the federal government, there's several different federal government programs that you may or may not be part of. One is the Thrift Plan. The Thrift Plan is the same as or similar to a 401k plan on the private sector. The Thrift Plan has very limited options. and it is your main retirement program where you contribute money and the government contributes money. But that's, you may want to consider, if you do lose your job, really evaluating that and saying, is this the right investment? This limited choices of investments, is this the right thing for you? We can help guide you with your thrift plan. The other thing they have is something called FEGLI, F-E-G-L-I, I think are the initials, Federal Employee Government Life Insurance, FEGLI, Federal Employee Government Life Insurance. What that is a group term policy, and if you're young, it's extremely expensive. It's like a flat rate. If you're older, it could be inexpensive, especially if you're uninsurable, and you're guaranteed to have it no matter what your health is. It's group term insurance. But if you leave your employer, or if you're forced to leave your employee, you have zero insurance. It's gone. And I doubt that it's convertible to something permanent. So if you're relying on that to protect your family, sorry, you really got to call us and renegotiate some other coverage, which you should have anyhow. But I'm just telling you, once you leave, that's gone. So your health insurance is another area of concern. They have health insurance programs with the federal government. If you need to, if you leave your employer or you're terminated, you're going to have to scramble. So I always tell people you need a plan B. And you need a plan B even if you're not losing your job, because you have to address the what ifs. I compare it to, let's talk about the New York Knicks, okay? They were lacking a second string last year. The big lacking was their bench play. And any good team, football, baseball, sports team, family, has to have, okay, what happens if this happens? What's going to happen next? What happens if this happens? What do I do next? What happens if this happens? What do I do next? Well, all of a sudden you're faced with, not under your control, something possibly happening to your job. What do you do next? Or do you go into panic mode? Or are you prepared? You have to be prepared. And if you're not prepared, give us a call. Let's go over what you have and what you don't have, because people have gone along and thinking, oh, everything's great, everything's rolling, everything's nice, okay, I get my paycheck, I got my benefits, my family's going, my kids are in school, they're not in school, developing a family, all's good until everything stops. Now, that can happen if you lose employment. It could happen for a health reason. It could happen because your mother is sick and in the hospital. It could happen because your husband or your wife is ill. Any of these events can and will happen over a lifetime. There is no straight path there's no golden straight path. I mean, if you look at 100 people and behind closed doors, you name 5 that have just had the perfect path and the perfect job and the perfect life and the perfect kids and the perfect wife. It just doesn't. Things happen. We get sick. Okay, we lose a job. The economy changes. Our money shifts. All these things are going all at the same time. Now, if any one of those things gets out of whack or gets out of orbit, then we got to shift and adjust. Right now, we're in a state where there's a lot of factors that can be out of orbit for you. So let us help you organize your benefits and protect you from, and help you develop Plan B. Now, if you ever listen to my program, one of the things I say is, if you don't have an accountant, if you don't have an attorney, if you don't have a life insurance specialist, if you don't have one of the elements of the total plan, let's help put your team together. You need to have a financial team behind you just in case something catastrophic happens to you. And if something has happened to you and you're a federal employee, or you're in agriculture and all of a sudden you're having trouble with your farm, or you could be in any business that could change at the whim of what's going on today. If that's the case, give us a call. Even if it's not, you need a plan B. That's my biggest message of the day, is you need a plan B. So you're listening to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein, and I can be reached at 631-647-4694. You can visit me at themainstreetcode.com. And once again, if you miss an episode or you're just driving around and you want to hear some past episodes, you can always catch me on Spotify or Apple at the Main Street Code. Thank you, and we'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein, and it's come to my attention that now, more than ever, you need some sort of guaranteed income for the rest of your life. Now, if you don't have that, you're missing something in your financial plan. You need to have a plan to have income forever, for as long as you live. Because if you run out of income, you're at the whim of the world as to what happens to you. So how do we do that? How do we create an income? And we can do a guaranteed income for the rest of your life. How do we create that? Well, one of the guaranteed incomes for the rest of your life, or what we thought was guaranteed, is Social Security. Social Security may have a small income that may support you in your retirement years, or that's one thing. Is that going to be enough to take care of you and pay rent or pay mortgage or pay taxes, pay property taxes, or, are you going to live this same lifestyle in retirement as you are accustomed to? Or is your money going to run out at a certain point? So you got to look at that. So one of the solutions we have is annuities. Now, if you work for the federal government, there is an annuity. If you look at the federal government website, you'll see that there is an annuity. What is an annuity? So annuity is not a bad word. Annuity is a payment stream which can be designed to pay for the rest of your life. So we do a lot of work with annuities in long-term planning. Now, if you have money that's been in the stock market, but it's fluctuating, it's up, it's down, but you want to create that liquidity in your life. So it's great to have a big portfolio and everything else, but it may or may not be liquid. And what do I mean by liquid? Liquid is that income I just talked about. So a lot of times we look at stock portfolios and we say, you know what? The market is doing so great right now, and I'm going to let it ride. Well, guess what? If I'm at retirement and I'm letting it ride, what happens to my liquidity if we have a downfall? All of a sudden your liquidity is gone. Or if all my money is sitting in retirement and I don't want to touch it because I know I'm going to be taxed on every dollar, and we have a market downfall, how am I going to cover for that liquidity aspect, that income aspect? Money doesn't grow on trees, as they say. So we have to protect ourselves with an income stream. Now, we also have to protect ourselves from passing away and leaving our loved ones in a financial hole that they can't dig out. And the most inexpensive way, notice I said inexpensive way, is to leverage your assets by buying life insurance. It's the most inexpensive way to make sure your loved ones are protected. So if it costs $1,000 a year and I get $100,000 benefit if I pass away, isn't that a good use of my money to protect it for the next generation, or my spouse or my family, so they don't go into poverty paying my bills? And can also protect me against any bills I have when I pass. So life insurance is a huge protection mechanism that people say, oh, when I'm 60, I won't need it. Baloney. That's when you need it most. And I hear this all the time. Even announcers on TV, oh, buy term for 10 years and great. What happens year 11? Okay? We still need coverage. So you need some sort of permanent coverage. I don't care how wealthy you are. You need coverage. Leveraged money for the next generation. Leveraged money. And guess what? It's tax-free. It's tax-free to the next of kin, to the next generation. It's federally tax-free. Now, if you have a very large estate, it could be estate taxable, but it's tax-free. Not estate tax-free. If it's inside a trust, it's estate tax-free. And federal income tax-free. And guess what? With cash value life insurance, you can take out some of your earnings tax-free. Anytime you want, tax-free. You don't have to wait till you're 59 and a half, tax-free. You don't have to wait till you're 70 and a half. No. Anytime you want, you take it out tax-free. If you pass away, it's tax-free. If the money grows inside your life insurance policy, there's no tax. It's tax deferred. So it's never taxed. What a great asset is life insurance. And I call it an asset. Let's say you're doing really well. And people say, well, I'm doing really well. I don't need life insurance because I got all this money I'm building up. Guess what? You're maxed out on your 401k. You're maxed out on your pension, blah, blah, blah. There's no better place to put your money inside a life insurance policy that grows, and it can grow by dividends if you buy whole life. Let's say 6% dividends, and you don't have to worry about the market going up and down. It's another asset. You don't have to worry about the market going up and down. You put it in whole life, it grows at about 6% dividend, tax deferred, tax free, that's equal to 8 or 9%, especially if you're in a higher tax bracket. And guess what? You need the money to buy a house or buy a building or buy another business. You can borrow it out of there, pay it back later. You don't have to pay it right away. What a great vehicle to have, another asset to have. What a great asset to have when you retire. You know, the problem with most people when they retire, all their money is in 401ks and IRAs or thrift plans, as we discussed earlier. And every dollar you touch is taxable. We say, well, I'm going to take out my whole thing right away. Well, you're going to get a big tax bill. So that's a problem. But wouldn't it be nice to have a tax-free envelope to pay bills instead of just taxable envelopes to pay bills? Wouldn't it be nice to have that extra envelope of cash and say, you know what? I don't want to pay taxes on this money. I got a life insurance policy. I can take the money out of there. You know, I want to make a renovation. I could borrow the money out of there. I'll pay it back later. And you know what? Whatever you take out will come from the death benefit, which is highly leveraged, as I mentioned earlier. So if I put in, $10,000 and it's worth $100,000, guess what? If I pass away and I don't pay that $10,000 back, my heirs still get $90,000. It's not so bad. Okay? There's no better tax vehicle in the world. It is so well protected, it's ridiculous. Every time the government looks for money, they knock on the life insurance door. They've been beaten down since the beginning of life insurance, the 1800s. Okay? Why? We lobby and lobby and lobby, and this is the most protected product out there. Now, the other thing we have to consider is while we're working, we have to have disability coverage. Disability insurance is vital. That is paycheck insurance. So while I'm working, if something happens, I become disabled. Now you say, well, I'm perfectly healthy. Great. Listen, I know people perfectly healthy and they went skiing and they got in a skiing accident, and guess what? They can't work anymore. Or they, something else happens. They get sick. Who's going to pay your salary? Only yourself. And how are you going to pay it? Through disability insurance. There are some life insurance policies that you can buy a disability rider on, okay, and I talked about this last week, where I could have that insurance policy, that extra asset paid for the rest of my life without me putting a dime into it if I become disabled and I can't work anymore. That's a home run. That is just a home run. And I've seen that being used over and over. And then as we're older and nearing retirement, or even before, we really got to think about long-term care. Long-term care is needing help in our home. And as we can live longer with our medical science, we need to protect that, because guess what? We're going to rely on the government to protect us. It may or may not happen, especially today. Something we really got to be concerned about. So these are areas that you have to explore. As a matter of fact, I was looking on the government website. They used to offer long-term care insurance. They don't anymore through the government. They said, we're not just going to do it anymore. So reach out to me. This is the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein. Let's talk about any topics you like and let us help you. 631-647-4694. Have a great afternoon and a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.